All right then. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is June 7th? It's June 7th.
It is June
It
7th.
is.
All right, just checking. Last time I got it wrong.
Are you on summertime yet, or?
Since May. I'm into my second month already.
Ooh,
Anyway,
that's
this
nice.
is a meeting of the Norfolk Board of Health called to order at 7 o'clock. The principal reason for the meeting, and we might as well start with it, is to review a draft of the request for proposal that's going to be sent out over the next couple of months in hopes of having a set of responses from qualified engineers or engineering companies to serve as Board of Health engineer and agent for a period of 3 years starting, I believe it's January 1st of 2017.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, so why don't we start with that, since there ain't nobody else here right now.
Yeah, this is just a copy of our last proposal.
It looks like somewhere in here you actually did make an update on a date.
I don't think I did.
No.
Really?
So it was really
I
the
thought there
only
was
thing that
116 in
outstanding.
here.
There was one. Method of selection by October 16, 2016.
Not, did it somehow automatically change?
No, that's the only one that it, oh, and then for the, no, everything else was 2016. I wonder if that was a typo
Yeah.
from before.
What was that from? Which one was that? Just the June 30th one?
It's on page 5.
Yeah, isn't that just the ending period that we already went through, 2016?
For the period 2013 to 20,
So it expired, right, from the one we already did?
yeah, that one has to be updated.
Right.
Yes, the dates.
What was the other one you saw that was 2016?
No, it says method and selection timetable
Yeah.
on page 5. It says October 16, 2016. So we're looking at the time period of January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2019?
I think we are.
Okay, so that would be the 3-year.
Yeah.
So why don't we make those changes in the first paragraph? And if we're on the first paragraph, I've got one more suggestion for a change, and that is the very last line. I think we ought to be saying, award the contract subject to funding for each year of the contract, instead of the year of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So just change the to each.
Mhm.
And there, I
year.
think that'll
Yep.
take care of that.
Where was that, Tom?
Last line, first paragraph, where it says for the year of the contract, make it for each
Mhm.
year of the contract. Then after that, we've got a date update.
Mhm.
So are we going to go with the idea that we're going to get this all taken care of by October 15th of this year?
Well, I agree, there's really not much to this one. I mean, besides date changes, and maybe looking at the fees again to make sure we're all included in that,
Yeah.
we should be able to do this by then. I changed my mind from the last meeting.
Well, no, October 15th is when they have to bring everything in.
Yeah, which
So,
means we got to get the RFP
Right.
out well before that.
Yeah, so,
So the response date is October 15, 2016.
is that,
Um,
just make sure that's not a Saturday or.
Right, let's check the calendar.
Or somebody's holiday or whatever.
Let's see. So October 15th, it looks like a Saturday, so
Yeah.
do we want to say Thursday, October 13th?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
Good idea.
October 13th, we
Mhm.
said, right?
Okay. Anything else on the front page?
Mm,
Okay. Page 2.
Mhm.
Any changes there, guys?
I didn't see anything, did you?
I don't think it's an issue. What happens is there's a sentence here that says, in 3.3, reserves the right to interview or seek additional information, to reject any proposal if it deems it to be in the best interest of the town. Now, obviously, deems it to be means rejecting the proposal.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean the proposal's in the best interest of the town. And yeah, if you read it fast enough, it's fine.
Mhm.
But I just hope nobody was going to sort of get twisted up in it and think, wait a minute, it's a good proposal, lies in the best interest of the town. But I think it's okay. We'll let that one go. Then further down there, 3.6. Back on the front page, we identify the Board of Selectmen and the Capital Chief Procurement Officer. I think we probably want to make 3.6 start with the Chief Procurement Officer. May cancel an invitation to
Okay.
make sure it's the same person we're
Yep.
talking about on pages
Mhm.
1 and 2.
Yep, and then there's another chief in there too. So it would be the last sentence also, should say the chief procurement officer.
Yep.
Okay.
So do you see where it's going to be Chief Procurement Officer times
Yep.
2 in section 3.6? Okay. All right, page 3, how we doing? Any changes there, guys?
Do you want to have it state traditionally on Tuesday, starting at 7:30, or just attend Board of Health meetings when requested? Traditionally, 1 to 2 meetings per month, or, maybe 1 to 2 meetings per month?
Yeah.
I know.
Rarely.
Really? Well, that's okay. But that traditionally on Tuesday, starting at 7:30, I mean, do we want to be that specific, or just keep it vague of attend Board of Health, or attend Board of Health meetings when requested, period?
Yeah, I don't think we want to nail it down too much for just how we've been operating. I mean, to make it too specific. 1 or 2 evenings per month, starting at 7:30. That's pretty vague.
Yeah. Yeah.
It describes
I
us.
was going to say, maybe attend Board of Health meetings when requested, maybe up to 2 evenings per month. Because there were times that there have been in the past, twice a month. So that way you have, you give them a kind of a, that's the end, the highest point, but maybe up to 2 meetings per month.
This is 4.2B you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then get rid of traditionally on Tuesday. So attend Board of Health meetings when requested, parentheses, may be up to,
Where's typically on,
Why
where's the
don't you say-
Tuesday?
Why don't we just say typically 1 to 2 evenings per month?
Period.
Say starting at 7:30, okay? Or is that even important?
I don't
Well, it
even
says
think you have the
typically,
time.
there's nothing wrong with that
I was
sentence.
going to say, I wouldn't even put on that on Tuesday, starting at 7:30, just have it, yeah,
I'm
just,
not going to put that in.
Yeah.
Where's the Tuesday part?
That sentence, traditionally on Tuesdays.
Typically,
Wait a minute,
I don't have that.
wait a sec.
Typically 1 or 2 evenings per month, starting at 7:30 PM. I don't have the Tuesday on this one.
I don't have it on mine either.
the one that you sent,
Wait a
Then maybe I
second.
sent you an older one.
so the one that Tom and I that you sent, that we've been reading, that's the one we did. Oh, yeah, look at this one.
Well, at least you're consistent with finding it.
Starting at 7:30. I wouldn't
Actually,
even,
Betsy anticipated our
So
thinking we
apparently-
needed to change this.
But
Right,
I'm looking at
so-
you, why do we want to talk about this?
Well, now you know why.
I know, okay.
All right, so basically, are we okay with the new one then?
Okay.
Because it seems like it's already been
Mhm.
taken care of.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even put starting at 7:30, typically 1 to 2 evenings per month.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
All right. On this page, one thing that came up, it's a recurring theme, is if we're going to talk about giving a contract to an engineering company, that there is always this issue of, is it most advantageous or is it great if one person within that engineering company has all these qualifications, provides all these services? Is that something that's really
We've been-
important to us?
We've been operating just fine without that particular subset of having one person involved with everything.
Right. And the thing of it is, generally, our guy is Wade,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure. Does Wade have a civil engineering degree?
No,
He does not.
Right.
he's a registered sanitarian.
He's a sanitarian, he's not a PE,
No,
and he doesn't have a civil engineering license or degree. So, when we talk about,
but we get, if we're looking at that one, it's the firm and who's in the firm.
yeah,
And what do they have? So you have to have this in here. I'll tell you the truth, though, what we should probably have in here is a registered sanitarian under the evaluation criteria.
We've separated it in the past. The question is it important to us to now try to bring them together today?
We separated them in the past.
Well, the last 25 years,
But I'm just saying to have someone in the firm
yeah.
that's representing us be a sanitarian. To add that in the qualification, not that the one person has to
No.
have all these.
No.
Well,
Let's think about that one, because I'm not sure how
Yeah,
many
that's-
engineering companies have a
yeah, that's
sanitarian.
true. No, that, you know, and we do also use someone who does some, when I say it's Mark Oram, when we have someone else do out and do the restaurant things
Right.
and that nature, so maybe that's not quite so important to have it. It's more of a fallback than it is
Yeah.
a requirement for the engineering services. Okay, no, I would retract that
Okay.
then.
Well, maybe that's not a minimum. Maybe what we can do is put that down as part of an
You could say
advantageous.
preferable or something like
Well,
that.
yeah, because we got a table of advantageous standards.
Right.
That could be one of them.
Yeah, we can put
Wouldn't
that
it be
in there,
great
let's
if you
say
had-
that.
Yeah.
All right, so not a minimum. So leave that the way it
But we'll
is.
put it in the part for advantageous to have.
And then it says, no firm shall be considered responsive unless the firm identifies a single engineer as the proposed agent who meets the minimum evaluation criteria described in above,
Mhm.
which means somebody on that shop
Mhm.
has to have these qualifications. Now, I'm trying to think, who's our agent besides Wade?
Tom,
It's Tom, right?
Right, we had this discussion, I think, before at the time of the last
Right, and
RFPs.
Tom met all these.
So Tom does.
Mhm.
Now, during this current period of time, is somebody else in his shop filling in? Because, I mean, theoretically, on certain projects, he's not involved.
right, so Phil Paradis,
Oh.
the gentleman that you met last,
Yeah, who's serving now
Last-
as the president?
Mhm.
he is serving now as the president. And he's a PE.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
But we can't write it for them in mind anyway, as
No,
long
no,
as
no,
they...
I'm just trying to, I put down Tom question mark, because is it
Right,
true now, all the time? All right, and then we get into the table of comparatives, where we can talk about things that aren't required, but would be nice to have. And so now, what you were saying,
Mhm.
Jeff, is
Yeah, experiences,
under,
Can you
what
add,
I call sanitarian services?
Yeah, it's really not under the Title V
Um,
part.
HIJK.
It could be under education. Under advantageous, under section A, actually. Bachelor degree in civil engineering, or do we have a professional license in here at all? Education and training?
don't we could, because you have registered land surveyor, why don't you
Right.
just put another box down there of,
Where's that for?
The very last one.
so.
Under
Yeah,
K.
okay, you could do L and then change the other ones from, to
Right.
M and N. And then you
Yeah,
could put
yeah.
sanitarian and applicant
Registered sanitarian?
with up to 5 years' experience, and then highly advantageous is greater than 5 years' experience.
Might work. All right, so we're going to introduce an L, a new L,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be, and the proper title is registered sanitarian?
Mhm.
All right, so new L.
And advantageous up to 5 years experience.
Mm-hmm.
And highly,
Well, we can say the applicant, just to mimic another one, we could say somehow the applicant has at least 5 years' experience inspecting food establishments?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
well, no, because
Yes,
the
they
food
do.
establishment part isn't part of this.
Yeah, it's really not.
Contract.
Is it
Let's-
part of
But
this
a
contract?
registered sanitarian, though, does more than just,
Right, because they can even just look at systems, too.
yeah, they can
Under 10,000.
review.
Or honestly, under two.
Right,
Under 2,000.
like Wade reviews, septic plans and inspections and things like that.
All right, well, let's leave it open to, let's fill that in with something, as far as what that has to be for qualifications.
Sure.
Get a better idea of what a registered sanitarian would be doing besides that.
Well, we could just say applicant has at least 5 years' experience working for a town providing registered sanitarian services. I mean, we'll need something to put in the box.
Yeah, let's look, at least for
What
the
about
next
up to
time, we
5
can.
years' experience as a registered sanitarian, and then greater than 5 years' experience as a registered sanitarian? I mean, it's
I'm
vague.
fine with that. I mean, Tom, you had brought up you wanted to get a little bit more specific by looking back on some previous ones.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm fine with just the 5 years, 10 years.
okay. Experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Period.
fine,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because Wade has chimed in before with the, with the porta potties and things like
Yeah,
that. It's nice to
yeah, yeah.
have that here when we're having meetings.
Okay, so applicant has at least 5 years of experience, period.
Yeah.
And it refers over to the first column, which is registered sanitarian.
Mhm.
All right. And then highly advantageous, more than 5 years?
Mhm.
All right. I had one question about the very last line, delivery of services. And under advantageous, it says that all services described in section 4.1, except inspections, to be provided by the same team member. Well, if you go back to 4.1, it seems like most of what our agent does, or an awful lot of it anyway, are those inspections.
Mhm.
Why would it say accept inspections?
Yeah.
Because that's all inspections. It says 4.1 says scope of services, inspect observation holes, inspect construction.
Oh, one
4.1B
Why are we taking
and
that out?
4.1C.
C.
Delivery services. 41B and C.
Oh, I think when you're looking at a firm, that basically you have basically two people, or you have one person who can do everything except for B and C, but the highly advantageous is you have that one person who can do everything. So if you look at it, not advantageous is that what's in 4.1, that you have multiple people in a firm that
Mhm.
provide it, so you don't have one person who can provide the majority of them. Advantageous is that basically you have one person plus somebody else to do B and C, and then highly is somebody who can do everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so instead of
okay.
having,
Yeah, I see the logic
I
now.
so the highly advantageous would be somebody, right, that
could do
could
everything.
do plan reviews and inspections.
Right.
It's a strange breakout to do B and C. I mean, because B, you had to have your soil evaluation. I could see that being a breakout, but then C is a little strange. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to inspect a system.
I think it's not so much can you, it's who does the
Who does
delivery
it?
of the
Right,
services.
it's, that's what I'm saying, it's a strange breakout to have that.
Yeah,
This one here requires some type of licensing,
yeah.
number B.
Mm.
Number C is just kind of random in a way,
Right, but it's just a question of who's going to do it.
yeah.
Is it going to be the same person doing that and a whole bunch of this other stuff or not? So I guess it's,
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole idea is that, I'm not sure, when the first one was done, you're trying to pull something out to make it not advantageous, advantageous, and highly advantageous.
Right.
I mean, so if it was just a random,
there must have been some logic, but right now it certainly is escaping me.
Yeah.
Or why we picked out those two.
mhm.
I mean, we could even change it to say most of the services described in section 4.1 are provided by the same team member, and then for highly advantageous, all the services are. I mean, I don't, as you say, what's the point of?
It is weird. I see that we're trying to break out field work by saying 4.1 B and C.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
obviously the point.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it could be other things
Okay,
too.
So you got a senior person back in the shop doing everything else.
Right, and you have.
Right.
Somebody else out there in the field
Yeah, right.
getting his feet wet.
Right,
Mhm.
All right, maybe that's the logic.
okay.
All right, I guess it does make sense.
Yeah.
Although it sure didn't seem like it for a while.
Right.
All right. We're still on page 5. We have 113 to turn into a 16 down at the bottom of the page there.
So we have
The
available
dates.
funds. The available funds we have to change
Right,
for the period
dates.
of 1/1/17 to 12/31/19.
Yep.
So that needs to be changed.
Right.
And then the proposals shall be open and registered as of was it 13th we decided?
October 13.
Yep, October 13, 2016.
Yep.
And then the Board of Health, will have until October 31st, which I believe is a Sunday.
Okay.
We have, what, November 28th, we had the
No, it's
date
actually a
here.
Monday.
right.
October 31st is a Monday.
That's fine. We're going to get done before then.
So hold on a second, we're bringing these in on the 13th,
Right, the 13th.
and then,
So if we,
Oh, so
would be
what
the
do-
27th, if you want to do the same time period, that would be the 27th. So you want to give them 2 weeks? So before it was the
Mhm.
16th to the 31st, so we'll do the 13th through the 27th,
Why not?
which is the Thursday, right? And it's
So what did we say? Proposals will be opened
on the 27th, which is a Thursday.
October 27th. And
Okay, so proposals will be opened at 5 o'clock on October 13th, right?
13th, which is the Thursday.
All right, and then the rankings
Mhm.
by October 27?
Yep.
2016.
So
Okay.
we'd be looking at probably the Board of Health meeting sometime 18th or the 25th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have one suggestion too under 4.2E with the communication equipment. Should we put something in there about cellular telephone and texting capabilities? It just seems.
Oh,
Cell phone's not in there yet?
no,
Yeah.
Fax
We haven't
machine,
changed
so-
this for a while.
I think we should get up with the times, maybe.
Yeah.
We do have fax
Okay.
machines.
I don't even have a fax machine.
Could you send a
Uh,
facsimile?
Facsimile, sure. Cell phone with texting capability.
Cell phone with texting capability.
In fact, you want to replace fax machine, or is that still
I think, can we
important?
get rid of the fax machine? Yeah.
Sign of the times, I think we can get rid of it,
Right,
though.
we can get rid of fax.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
wow.
Good catch. Otherwise, you've been another 3 years behind times.
Yeah.
We'd still be faxing things to people.
Just it's nice, just the texting is just,
Right.
when I have a guy out in the field,
Mm-hmm.
it's just sometimes it's just be able to send a quick text
Mhm.
or.
Yeah. All right, page 6, that's just application
Yeah, I didn't see
to get
anything
filled
on
out.
Price
Page
proposal.
7, price
Guys,
proposal.
go back to page 5 one second on method of selection,
Well, you
number 7.
insist, yeah.
Mhm.
I just want to see if you're the same as I have here. So we have opening on what date?
The 13th,
October 13th, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next date we have shown here is...
27th?
The top rank applicant will have until October 27th?
Right, okay, so that's just, okay,
you
so
got
it's
2 weeks.
October 27th to execute the contract.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I thought someone said something about reading that. I mean, having the meeting.
All right, okay. So, are we on to exhibits?
Yep.
All right, now we're going to update everything here, of
Price
course.
proposal needs to be updated.
Our fiscal year is July to June,
Yeah,
so then you'd have to do A, B, C, D, so you do fiscal year, would it be 17, January 17 through June 17?
Yep.
And then fiscal year, that'd be,
17, 18, and 19.
I think we have to add 20.
you have to add 20
To make it a
because, to
three-year
make it a three-year contract. Because you have January to June is the end of one fiscal year, then you have July to
So-
June.
Yep, so this would be July, so this fiscal year 17 would actually be January 1,
Mm-hmm,
17 to June 30th, 17.
right.
Mhm.
Fiscal year 18 would be July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2018.
Mm-hmm,
And 18 to 19. And then July 1, 2019 to June
mm-hmm.
30th. Holy moly, 2020?
That would give you the 3 years. Because we're,
Oh, wait a sec. The last one you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's going to be July 1 to December 31st,
yeah,
2019.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That just gets us through to 3 years on this contract.
Okay, so July 1 to December 31?
mm-hmm,
2019.
18.
19.
No, oh, sorry.
No, we're
Yep,
19.
You're right.
19.
2000.
God willing. Planning ahead.
He's still on the board.
Now, and you're going to put in the number this year for the anticipated
Big
budget?
Right.
Yeah, for fiscal year 2017, I
Yeah.
think it's the same, actually. I don't think it's changed.
Okay.
Yeah, we're making good progress here. I have a question. We have a visitor,
Mm-hmm,
and this doesn't have to get done right this second. We can always break and come back
Right.
and
okay.
have a conversation with our fellow townsman from Mass Ave. Welcome, Andrew. This is Andrew Cleverton, for those who don't know.
How are you?
I have known Mr. Cleverton since he was playing youth soccer in this town for a team that I coached. Anyway,
Is this a reunion or another reason he's here?
well, no. There is a less fun business to take care of.
All right.
So let's move our agenda around a little bit and talk about, well, I called it wastewater leak at 31 Mass Ave. It seems like an appropriate title.
Not Mr. Cleverton's septic system, though.
No, I tell you what, Andrew, why don't you come on up? We have all these gorgeous chairs here,
Yeah, come sit.
and they're really quite comfortable. You can kick back and relax.
So, Tom's familiar. You two might
No.
not be up to speed on this, so.
All right, let's do a little bit
We'll
of
start from
background.
the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, as the person who's observed this issue from the beginning, Andrew, why don't you explain what you know about what's going on in your backyard?
Sure. So basically, back at the beginning of May, we had quite a bit of a smell in our backyard. There was also fluid that was in a certain area of that backyard. You know, I didn't know what it was. I had a couple of people come over, look at it, and they definitely said, "No, this is sewage." We had somebody come over that's from a septic system company come over shortly thereafter, confirmed what he thought it was too. I had a landscaper on the premises the week after. He said, "This is definitely sewage." So over that week, we had a few people. I contacted the board on May 9th, and I believe on the 17th, somebody from the Board of Health stopped by to take a look at it. Thought it was a stump dump, not necessarily sewage. So after that, we kind of thought, well, we need to kind of continue processing this after 2 to 3 people actually thought this was actually sewage. It's literally 5 to 10 feet from my kid's swing set. And it's about, I did some measuring, from the swing set to the area is 8 feet, from my property line to the area is about 16 feet, from the area to my house is about 24 feet. The exact location. So the people that came over and took a look at it, dug a hole about 5 feet behind it towards the property line, noticed it filled in with a lot of fluid, same same consistency. Took a sample on either side, about 3 to 5 feet, dry, completely dry.
Yeah.
So his presumption is that it is coming from the property behind me.
That was Chris from J. Hockman Inc., right?
Yes, that's correct. So had a couple of different people who were pretty new about this. So that's why we continue to press it a little bit more. That's when I gave Tom a call, and Tom came out and took a look at it as well. So after all of that, we are at the point where the neighbors had their tank pumped. It has not been in that area, and it has not smelled since the tank was pumped, which I believe was
Friday.
Friday. That's correct. So that's where we are.
But in the meanwhile,
In the meantime, too, Wade had gone out and he had the site plan, and he on their site plan did show a rectangular utility easement on the rear of their property, which was kind of perplexing because their septic system is in the front
So on the
or on the
side.
side, but not in that area.
And downhill from that area.
So we weren't quite sure what the reason for this utility easement was when that Christina Estates subdivision was designed. So I think Wade had asked Andrew to, try to look at his deed to see if there was any kind of easement description. So Andy did get that and sent that over to
Eventually,
us.
after a little
So
bit of
yeah, it took a little bit of, because we still weren't sure what was there, why was it there. So, long story short, after I met with Chris from J. Hockman, we pulled out subdivision plans, septic plans. We had a suspicion that it was the leaching pits for the house behind theirs, the existing house on the Greaves property, 47 Turner Street, who they owned that entire parcel and sold it to Natasha. And Natasha
Okay.
did the subdivision. So, kind of in a nutshell, but
So you think it's excuse me, it's an old house that doesn't have a Title V system? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, we think it's the leaching pits.
well, there is, if you update this a bit, the old house has been there for quite a long time, 1940s, I think, at least.
Yeah.
But we do have in our files
I have an
The
old
pro-
design
a
plan.
design that goes back to the 1970s.
70s, 75-ish?
So it comes along, it's actually a plan drawn up by Landmark Engineering and stamped
I can
by
show-
Cliff Holman. Does that name sound familiar?
No.
No. He started Landmark Engineering.
So just to give y'all, this is,
Yes.
You need to be as old as I am to know what these names mean.
What'd you call them?
so this here is the septic, this can you go, Jeff? Here's the septic design for 47.
You want to swing around, Andy?
So this is the one you think it's it here?
Yeah. So,
So there's the house behind Andrew's house, the Greaves property.
Your house is over here now?
So this grade going down is going down basically to your property.
Yes.
And here is a septic tank, and here are 2 leaching pits. And the worry is either one of these 2 pits,
so to give you an idea too, so let's turn this around this way. Here's the Greaves house at 40. That is actually, that house number's wrong. It should be 47. You can see, where are we? Oh, here's the Clevedon's house right here. You can see how this was all subdivided.
Yeah. So the question is, did this pit maybe
And
end up in your backyard?
Or is it just a breakout from that?
Or it could be breakout.
okay,
Fix
so
it.
here's the Clevedon site plan. So here's the Greaves property here. Here's this 20-foot wide utility easement.
So what?
And I actually do have, Andy had sent over the easement docs,
Yeah.
documents
Yeah,
that
so we-
reference this
And what does it say it's
as
for?
for a septic system.
So originally, most of the documents call it a utility
How did they
easement.
do that?
And then they've, in that one deed, it does specify that it is for a septic, I believe.
Yep, it does. I actually have it highlighted. To benefit of, for the benefit of the house lot, the right to maintain, replace, repair, and relocate the septic system lying within the utility easement on lot 21, which is the Cleverdens, as shown on the subdivision plan, and the right to enter said utility easement for said purposes.
Well, if that's the case, then obviously this system's failing because you've got breakout happening, and then
So-
you have to come in and fix it.
We have more, so.
Okay, all right, I'll stop jumping ahead.
Well, but here's the crazy part, one of the crazy parts, and that is that information is on a quitclaim deed, which I believe is the deed of Greaves selling the property to Antosha.
You got it.
Andy, does that information show up on your deed?
No, that, what I see is a utility easement, not a septic
Yeah,
easement.
there was no description.
And when I'm trying to remember back, because in 2011 is when we closed on our property, and I'm trying to remember what was, there was an explanation of the easement, and we definitely questioned, what is this? And it was called a utility easement, and I remember at the time that whoever I was talking with at the time said, well, it could be, there's no reason there's a utility back there. You know where your gas lines are, you know where your electrical
Right.
lines are,
Usually
you know where your water lines are.
Utilities
So,
are normally those
It
things.
didn't make much sense to me. The one thing I am actually kind of curious, because that is, if it is that close to the property line, wouldn't there have to be some type of variance that's been approved to allow
Well,
that?
yeah, but the interesting thing is, in Title V, the septic system serving a lot has to be on the lot that it's serving. So I'm not sure how this got on there with an easement.
Well, that's the other part that really
Nobody
seems
knew.
weird, and that is, how can you draw a line creating a new lot that takes a septic system on an existing lot and all of a sudden gives it to
Right,
somebody
well, that's what I'm
else?
saying, in Title V, you have to have the lots being, the septic system serving that lot has to be on the lot that it's serving,
Right,
They
unless we grant a
created-
variance.
right.
unless the variance is
They
granted.
Which they didn't do.
created that lot,
Mm-hmm.
Cleverton's lot, and Tasha did, knowing that there was a septic system
Yeah,
for another house there.
right.
And another fascinating thing is, if that is the location of this, they put a fence right down the middle of it. I mean, I don't know how deep
Mm-hmm.
those I mean, they're fairly large posts going directly down the middle of
Of the easement,
the
Mm-hmm.
if
easement.
that's what you're saying it is.
Right.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have septic, in just looking at the soils you have here, I mean, it's in what they call tight soil, which is kind of the glacial till, which isn't great soil anyway for doing it. It sounds like there's breakout for the system, and it's failing.
Yeah, and I will just say, last year, we did have one other instance after a heavy rainfall where it definitely was there and present. We didn't know what to make of it at the time, but it actually went away. And then this year, it certainly has been prevalent. You smell, you see the gray water.
And
The soil is definitely,
You had someone from septic
Stain.
company out, I assume no one located the cover, because that would,
no, so we
Not
didn't
yet.
go into digging because of the easement. We didn't want to violate that easement. We've gone through a couple of iterations on the legal side of, well, if it is failing, you have every right to go into
Right.
that easement, especially if that easement is there illegally. However, I just decided, let's not dig. Let's figure out what the easement is first. And I kind of fast forward to today.
Yeah.
yeah, that's still your property, but the easement's just, I mean, the easement that you have on your deed doesn't preclude you from going into that area.
Right.
So,
But what it does allow is
the other people.
the other folk to
Yes.
basically come onto your land, and if anything, dig up.
Yeah, but and
Yeah.
also, you said there's a fence there now that
There
they
is-
put up,
They put a pretty high fence.
and I can't imagine that's allowed in the easement as well. I mean, it's still your property. So,
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, yesterday when I was in here, was it Dunham McKenzie? Who's the engineer that was here yesterday?
yep, Dunn McKenzie Engineering from Norfolk.
Who's been contracted by the folks who live in the Greaves' house?
Yep, there's actually a trustee that's in charge of the property.
And they're essentially trying to get to the bottom of all this. What they're trying to do is find the distribution box and locate these pits. And what that's probably going to mean, and they're going to try to do it tomorrow.
Correct.
So what that means is you may see some strangers wandering around your backyard
That's
With metal
perfectly
detectors.
fine.
with these big shovels.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be out there tomorrow to do an assessment. I think they don't have a signed contract, but Dunn McKenzie was contacted by
By us.
by you or by
Yes.
the trustee.
We did originally, we talked with them just because knowing
Okay,
that
yeah.
that their name, I believe, is on one of our plans. and so
They're
that's
So
what-
they
Yeah.
designed the subdivision.
Yep, they did. So I think they've been in contact with the trustee too, and I think that they, if it is indeed failed, sounds like it is, they're ready to move forward with, replacing the septic system.
Where it gets interesting.
Hopefully, getting the septic out of that easement and hopefully in the end be able to extinguish that easement.
Right. So have you talked with any attorneys?
Yes.
Okay, so I was gonna say, obviously, this would be the time to get rid of that.
Yes.
And get it off
Yes.
that area.
And there is some belief, the document doesn't seem like it's, in my opinion, written very well. And so there is some thought to that easement may no longer exist, given that both of the people that originally were given that easement have since passed away.
That's right.
So there is some thought there. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know.
Right, but
So
this
there's some
would be
thought along that
this would
line
be the
too.
time to get rid of it, obviously.
Yeah.
Interesting. Try to make a more buildable lot by giving up a little bit more area, but then taking it back with the septic.
Well, there is a significant amount of space back there where they might be able to find a place to install a leaching field away from your lot completely.
Oh, yeah, and it's also gonna be a repair.
Jeff, I know the septic tank's in the back, but what about on the side of the house or the front?
For the space for the system?
Yeah.
Oh, there's plenty, looking at this right here, I mean, you have much better areas that are flatter to do it anyway, away from your side. I mean, that's probably the worst place to put it, because that's where your slopes get steeper, so
Yeah.
you're gonna have
Breakout.
breakout.
Right.
So there's plenty of area over here to put it, and how many bedrooms is this? Probably 3?
Should be.
Didn't say?
That's a 1,500 gallon tank.
Yeah.
It should say there somewhere there, Jeff.
No, it's not, what she said in the 70s?
You have the data now.
Yeah, 90, isn't it? 99.
99?
Yeah.
That's when the entire property was sold from the
Okay.
Greaves
Okay,
to Natasha.
Oh, I've actually, is that it?
3 bedrooms, yeah. So he's got 3
Three.
bedrooms. So, I mean, I'm sure they'd be able to easily locate another system out there, even if they had to use something like alternative technologies or whatever. Anything's gonna be better than these 2 leaching pits in this type of soil.
Right.
Yeah. So,
There you go.
some digging happening tomorrow. The hope is to be able to get a design done as soon as possible that essentially diverts all the fluid coming out of that tank and puts it someplace where it can go into the ground. Because right now, it's kind of just heading toward your house.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever open pores were there are finally filled in. And it's just
Yes.
going over the
Yeah.
top, as you know.
Well, as you're aware, the soils up here are a little problematic in a lot of places.
Yeah. Strange, they have really good perk rates, but they describe the soil as tight, which doesn't really make sense. so. But anyway,
So is there anything else you'd like to hear from us?
No, I guess the only one question I do have is the existing system or the existing leach field or leach pits or whatever may be there. If it is indeed failing and this is being relocated, what happens to that existing? Is there a risk or
They'll actually
concern?
pump it and
fill it in.
fill it in.
Fill in the tank?
Yep.
Fill in the
What, the
leaching
pits?
pits.
These 2 leaching pits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Precast leaching
Yeah, I was
pits.
gonna say, they're probably precast leaching
Yeah,
pits.
so typically they go down and they'd open them up and they'd fill it with gravel and they'd break off the top area here and just fill the whole
Yeah.
thing back to
Yeah.
grade, so it's nothing.
Pump it out,
It's not like an
pump
empty
them out,
hole.
so. So we'll keep you posted.
Great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
problem.
Well, you're going to be on the front line, so you're going to see exactly what's happening.
Yes.
Right, and the good thing is, I've had conversations with the, Matthew Ginty, I think is his name, the trustee for the Greaves family. Seemed very, willing to work with us, and, so that's a good thing.
Right.
So hopefully it'll we won't run into any issues.
Sounds good.
So, anyway, we're on top of it, hopefully.
All right.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, indeed.
Great.
Take
Thank you
care.
very much. Have a
All
good
right,
night.
Andy.
all right, you too.
That's interesting.
Yeah, when I first heard about this, I talked to Tom Houston and said, you ever hear of a situation where somebody subdivided property and actually just put a lot line down through somebody's septic system? So it ended up on somebody else's land?
Was that news? Was that new on him?
He had never heard of that before.
It's something you've run into that you'd say, I'd like to do this, because then I could squeeze out another buildable lot.
Right.
So
It's
instead of
exactly what
giving,
public-
so
somebody
instead
said.
of giving up a lot,
You just put the easement around it and take it there. I mean, it's actually, again, they could have relocated this for not a lot of cost, but considering you probably had the whole subdivision. I remember working with Antosha during conservation with this, so I mean, I could see that happening. But, yeah, I mean, you could have changed out the septic system and done this easily without doing this. I don't even know how they got that
Yeah, how did it get through?
through. I mean, it's
yeah.
It sounds
I
as
think
if the
it's-
information on that quitclaim deed didn't make it over onto other deeds.
probably never got recorded. Probably just-
No, I think it
Well,
is
that got
recorded,
recorded.
because Andy's lawyer
The
found
lawyer
it.
pulled that off.
Yeah.
Did he
So
did
that is
record that?
recorded.
Wow.
Yeah,
Then it kind of just, nobody
Well,
owned
you
up
can,
to it
you
after
can
that.
record anything.
I guess
Look at all
so.
my
It
documents, it
just,
just says the utility easement, it
Yeah.
doesn't say a septic
right,
or
right.
sewage or
It's-
whatever.
I
it may
mean,
be.
unfortunately, it took us a little while to figure out exactly what, like, that can't be a septic system, like,
So it was recorded on that existing lot.
it's, it recorded
your
for, I
lot.
think it was for the Christina Estate subdivision.
Oh, was it under that? I just wondered, like, if you did a title search for yours, if it would ever come up,
Right.
or if it would just come up from the existing house.
No, because
Yeah.
it doesn't,
It's only on the 47
Right.
Turner.
So
and it
you
just
do the search,
references
you'd never
lot
find it.
21, but
Interesting.
All right, Andy.
All right, thank you very much.
never a dull moment. All right, good night.
Right. All right, so we on page 8,
Eight.
which is kind of a replay of the scope of services from an earlier page. These percolation water table observation dates, these are the most recent ones, aren't
No,
No.
they? Nope. Gotta change them.
yep.
That's on page 9.
Mhm.
All right.
And obviously, we got page 8 with the date, right? Did we get that in the first paragraph?
Yeah, the period of,
Services.
So,
You changed
yep. Did you get that, Betsy? Top of
Nope.
page 8? First
Dates.
paragraph, last full line, just change the dates.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So what do we do, December 2019?
so I have a question on page 9. What's the definition, I'm echoing, of a working day? Is it the same as a business day?
I think it's meant to be that.
Okay. Well, no, the only reason why I ask is because we've described this person works 2 non-consecutive days each week. And can someone misconstrue that to saying it's 10?
2.5 weeks worth of working days.
Exactly. Because when I looked at that, I'm like, oh, is it working days or business days? I would just change that to business days. If it's 10 business days, so it's basically 2 weeks. And the other thing is, the Board of Health is closed on Fridays, right? The town
Correct.
hall's closed on Fridays.
But it's real-world business days, not town business days.
Let's,
Well, no, they can't, if they brought something in on a Thursday, then it would be 10 business days would not be, I just want to make sure it doesn't like fall on any way of having it fall on a Friday. So you have 7 business,
Maybe we should get rid of these working days
yeah.
and start talking about 10 working days. Just make it 14 days. Does it make more sense to do this just on the calendar so there's less ambiguity?
Well, 10 working days would be the same as 14 days.
Right.
Right, and you have 7 working days would be, what,
Okay, so we can call it
10 days?
10 days.
Yep.
What do you say we just
Yeah,
change
that's
these
fine,
to
because
days?
then
Yeah.
you hit, the day you drop it
7
off,
days.
2 weeks later, the place is still it's gonna be open, because it's 2 weeks from the day you dropped it off, so it's
Right.
gonna
Right.
get rid of that.
So, okay, so 10 working became 14 days,
Right,
7 working became 10 days,
yep, 10 days. 5 would
5
be
is 7,
7, yep.
5 is 7.
Well, what we do with the 7 working days is now what?
We'd still make that 10.
10 days.
But then I just leave it for, if you leave it at 7 days, you're gonna know that you're not gonna run into that issue again with the Board of Health being closed on that day.
That's
'cause
what I'm
the week
saying.
after you drop it off.
Right, that's what we're doing, so it's 10 days, 7 days, 10 days, or 7 days. So we're getting rid of the working.
Jeff is saying, well, your
Keep it
7 working days may turn your,
10 days if you go to 10 days, you
10
might
days
run
could be
into
a
a day we're
Sunday.
not open.
Mm,
So keep it in groups of 7, so 7 or
let's
14.
make it 14.
Yeah, just make it
Make it
14.
14.
14. So
14
is-
is 7 for everything.
14. So 14,
There's
14,
no
7.
law
7.
says we're going to take this long, it's just that we're not
Right.
going to
14,
take any
14,
longer than
Yeah,
that.
7?
14.
Yeah.
No, just go with 14 still.
So 14s and 7s,
Mhm.
You wanna go with
1 to
7s?
2 weeks.
So site plan is 21 days, subdivision 45 days, notice of intent 14, new disposal 14, upgrade disposal 14, project eval 7, well application 7.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think those are reasonable.
Mhm.
And they can get done a whole lot faster.
Mhm.
That's the max.
The other thing, respond to applicant's engineer 5 working days from receipt of application. Do you want to just have it 7
7.
days?
7, yeah. The only one that doesn't light up is the subdivision at 45.
Are we getting rid of working?
Yeah.
So 5 working became 7.
7
7
days.
days.
7
yeah.
working, you want to just make it 7.
7 days, yeah.
Let's just get rid of the word working on the last one there. So 7 days
Mhm.
for test holes.
Test hole observation.
Is that too fast?
Yeah,
In this season,
14.
get backed up?
14?
Yeah.
Okay.
14.
Okay, the
14.
pro over here says it should be 14, so we're going to
What's
make,
Not that he's gonna take that.
What was that, Jeff?
Test hole ob-
Number 7, H2,
2,
2?
test hole observation, 14 working days.
which is 14 days.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the
14 days,
working.
yeah. Wade would never take that, but I hate to put him under the gun,
Mhm.
or whoever we have
Yeah.
as our
Yeah,
agent.
I'm gonna change the dates on the test hole.
Mhm.
I forget what that is now. I'll change it.
Okay.
all right. Anything else on page 9?
So-
Insurance page. Thank our colleague Peter Chipman for all this, you know.
He was our insurance guru.
Mhm.
All right, the rest of these are kind of
Certificate, yeah.
forms.
Forms.
Boilerplate forms, right?
More insurance.
Give it F, I assume
Now
nothing's
we get to our,
changed.
wait a second. Are these fee schedules up to date?
It is what we're currently using.
Let
Mhm.
me see what you have, make sure this is good. Yeah, it's the same. Well, except there's an emergency repair.
75, and rolled over as a 25? Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Be interesting to see if we're, to change our fees, do we have to do this at public hearing? Can we do that
No,
here?
I think it just requires a vote of the board.
I'd like to see if we're up to date as far as these fees
Our
go
fee
with
schedule?
other
Mm.
people, yeah.
Do you want me
time
to,
to do some
you want me
comparative
to do
shopping.
a little
Yeah,
shopping
yeah.
around?
And even ask our current our review engineers, because they do it for other towns as well, just to see that
Yeah.
if we're in line with what's going
I'll
on.
get a few of the surrounding towns
Yeah,
Yep.
for
yeah.
our next meeting.
Good idea.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Let's see, weather.
All right. Well done, gang.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
We'll fix that up and get some fees for the next time.
Yeah, just make
Mhm.
sure we're.
And then we
so
can
we're
Give
up
it
to date.
a,
I would,
another,
I'd make a motion to
look.
adjourn, but I'm
One
unofficial.
final look, be ready to rock and roll.
Do we have one more thing before we?
Oh, no, we haven't, yeah, we're not done the agenda
Yeah.
yet. So, next item on the agenda,
okay.
we have from the Inspector General. We have a letter.
Well, we read the one Mark sent out, so we
Yeah.
have an
Yep.
idea what's
You've
going on
read.
now.
Yep.
Strong thunderstorm approaching Metro West, western suburbs of Boston. Anyway,
That's nice.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
It does look kind of
Yeah, it's supposed to
threatening up there.
possibly hail.
anyway,
All right. What have you guys seen? You saw the letter from Mark's
From
Mhm.
Mark,
attorney,
Yeah.
right,
right?
from Mark's attorney, right.
you saw the Inspector General's letter,
I
right?
didn't see the
didn't
Inspector
get one
General's
from
one,
the-
or I didn't, if I did, I didn't read it. Oh, it's
Alright.
right here, so it's right
Yep,
here.
I did
I'm
attach
sorry.
it,
Yeah.
so.
Do you have one of these, Tom? Yeah. June 2nd one at the top?
Yeah, it's the June second.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's his letter, and then on the back of, she's got the Attorney General's.
Now, turns out the Attorney General letter came in a while ago, and I thought Jack was going to respond. Do you know if he did?
He hasn't yet. He is going to be talking with his board. They've got a meeting next Tuesday night, the 14th, and he'll respond after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he did get a copy of Mark's attorney's response. He thought it was a good letter, and
Mm-hmm.
Well, because the one thing that kind of stands out a little bit in all this is that, Mark has a allegedly full-time, I'm not sure that's 35 hours a week or what it is, position in another town.
Mm-hmm.
And the OIG was really coming down hard on the notion that, hey, you can't work full-time someplace and be doing other stuff other places.
I'm not
Because
sure
there-
why. Because
Well, something was passed in 2011, was it? There's a reference to it actually in,
in
the-
the IG letter.
no, it was in the one that Mark's lawyer sent us. It said that, in fact, Mark had been doing this for like 15 years prior to the law coming down was grandfathered.
Oh, it says further, OIG recommends that town officials consider adopting a policy, blah, blah. It's with the Mass General Law. This would enable each town to ensure that an employee's outside work responsibilities, quote, are not inherently incompatible with the responsibilities of the employee's public office, end quote, is set forth in Mass General Law. I think the big issue is kind of like timekeeping with all of this. So, if he is doing stuff for the town of Norfolk, then we need to have records as to, when, almost like when he punches in, when he punches out.
And we're such small potatoes in this,
Yeah, I
this
know.
whole thing. I mean,
The
Yeah.
whopping $3,000.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
I think
Yeah.
it ends up being 40 hours a year or something
I
like
remember us
that.
going through this contract, it was almost,
Yeah,
silly.
you'll be seeing a new contract from him, but
right, I mean, I don't think there's any issue with us involved with this. We call him in on occasion, he gets paid hourly because we call him in, he's here, he does the work, it's easy to track for us.
it is. And his inspection reports actually list the date and the time. And if somebody's concerned about that, I guess they could check that against his
The whole time, I
his
think
time slips in Ashland. So I mean,
the whole time I've been on the board, I think we've only had one time where we've used them, I believe.
yeah, he comes in. If he calls me, it's in the morning on his way to work, or after he leaves work, he'll come and do restaurant inspections on the weekends and the evenings. Any days off that he might have. So
I shouldn't, maybe probably 2 or 3 times at the most. I remember seeing something brought up with
Yeah.
him, so, yeah. So the response seemed good. I mean, it seemed strange that, well, the attorney really kind of smacked the Inspector General there on the nose a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, we were a little, I know Jack was not happy with that Inspector General's
Yeah.
letter and, you know,
Well, the Inspector General is kind of beating up the 3 towns for not having responded to,
some report,
Report that
which
we
we
never
never
saw.
saw.
And if
and
they're,
then superimposing that, we don't really have a dog in the sun at all.
No,
Because
no, no.
we have a very tiny amount of work
Mhm.
that is being done as we requested it be done. We have records of it being done.
Mhm.
We have payments made in response to the work
and with the
being
amount
done.
we're paying them, we have to assume we're gonna get a part-time person who's gonna be doing work outside this
Of
anyway.
course.
Right,
So,
so on our end of it, of course he's part-time.
right. But I mean, if he's really acting within the, Mass General laws, and the Attorney General totally missed these, including grandfathering, that's pretty bad. Inspector General. That's pretty bad on their part, but. Interesting.
I can't really see
So-
where this is really much of
All
a
right, but the
concern
response is
for
coming from the town
for us.
to the OIG.
Yeah.
So,
And we have no issue with this as far as the board, I assume, right? I
No.
mean, Mark has done everything we've asked, and that we've never
well,
seen
yeah,
any conflicts, any
including
issues.
the next, last item on our agenda.
Mhm.
He's the guy that went down and, checked things out on One Needle Street
Mhm.
and made recommendations, which have turned into actions finally.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I don't really have any complaints at all.
No, no. So, okay, as long as Jack's echoing that.
Yeah, I think that you'll probably see Jack respond to that
Mhm.
IG letter.
Yeah,
And he
we
knows
talked
that we
about
have
it,
his-
Chuck and I
okay.
did it.
Yeah, he knows we have
what
his-
the board's position is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The board supports him. Okay.
The only thing that I would say is that we, as the board or the town, he needs to make sure that we have the correct records, because I think that's where the OIG, where we could get into trouble, is that if we don't have some type of a time card system and documentation. That's the only place that we're gonna, because if they go back and they wanna look at the different time cards, then we could get slapped with something, so.
Right, like I
We just
said,
need
on
a-
his inspection reports, it does list the date and the time, so.
Having dealt with regulatory agencies,
Yeah.
that's all I do, I would say to have something a little bit more formal, so that you have something that's quick and easy for them. It's either a logbook that he signs or something that, so you can actually see, I mean, does he give you,
He must
To
have
get
invoices,
paid.
right? He must
No,
get,
we've got invoice.
So then
yeah,
on
the
the in-
the
so-
invoicing includes the date. The invoicing doesn't necessarily include the time.
I would,
but-
I would have him on his invoices, put the time he's done something, and then that way, if the state comes and
We can
says,
say,
you can pull
"Here
up
it
and say,
is."
here are all his invoices, and, here's the date that he worked for us from, 4 PM to 5 PM, and when they go back to the town that he's working elsewhere, and he left his job at 3:30 and came to Norfolk at 4, so you're fine. So, that would be my only recommendation.
It's a good one.
Okay.
So we're gonna roll that into One Needham,
Seemed like a logical segue.
right?
Right. So, what do we know?
So, since you and I talked yesterday, well, I'll just, I know that I don't really have much of a report. I know that did go back to court on May 24th. I did email the receiver yesterday looking for an update after you and I talked. I didn't get one from him, so I really don't know what transpired on the 24th. The last inspection that the receiver did, there were a couple guys there, I think, working, taking out scrap metal and things like that. So, seemed like progress is pretty slow.
but progress, nonetheless.
I drive
Slow
past that.
progress.
I drive past that every single day as I drop my daughter off to school, so the dumpster was there, and the same amount of stuff that was in the dumpster was probably there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like there was anything added to the dumpster. Then the dumpster's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
it is?
there was a few things added. The dumpster hasn't been there for over a week, I would say.
Okay.
So,
Because we gave him a limited time with the dumpster, because,
yeah, and the dumpster was not even, the dumpster was a quarter full.
yeah.
There was a couple old
Yeah,
chairs and stuff
yeah.
like that, so The outside, as you walk up to the house, has been cleaned off, although now that there's, the grass is all high and whatnot.
Yeah, I
But
can't really see it as well.
yeah, but in the back, there's like a shed that's falling down, and that, you can still see that there's stuff in there. So nothing was cleaned out of there.
Yeah.
But the, kind of the driveway area is cleaned off.
Is the house right now inhabited, do you know?
I don't believe it's inhabited. I think they deemed it uninhabitable.
Right.
Electric service never got turned
I
back
don't
on.
think so.
His truck is usually not there in the mornings, although I did see his truck there, it was Saturday, when I was running errands, and he was kind of, there was somebody standing out, and it was his truck, because there was all sorts of junk in the back of the truck. But we drive, like I said, drive past every day, and there's no truck in the
Okay,
driveway,
So
so.
it doesn't appear as if he's living there.
Right.
There's no truck in the
I
morning.
don't
Mhm.
believe he is.
Yeah.
Without a dumpster, nothing's really gonna.
Yeah, and the
Oh, no.
dumpster, I mean, like, literally, the dumpster may be a third of the way full, quarter, third of the way full.
Yeah, I'll let you know once
There were
I
a
get a
few
report
items.
from the receiver what the next step is. I think they're trying to give him the opportunity to, so they'll probably provide him, they're looking for maybe some grant or some assistance
Mhm.
to assist. It's a difficult situation.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure at this point where they're going.
Was the dumpster something which the town lent him?
Yeah, it was supposed to be for a couple-week period.
Yeah. The anticipation being it was going to get filled.
Hmm.
Yeah, I did not.
Right,
I mean, can't leave it there open-ended.
right.
Well, I think to hear back what the receiver says, and then from there, do we need to send another dumpster out there, and there's a better plan?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it physically looks better than it did. I mean, before you could barely see the house, there was so much junk on it. So that area looks better, although the lawn needs to be mowed and stuff like that, but other than that.
Mhm.
They still have to deal with the inside of the house, though.
I can only imagine what the inside looks like. And like I said, there's a shed behind the house that you really couldn't see. There was so much junk, like piled so high that you actually couldn't see the shed in the backyard. It's kind of in the back, and it's literally, it's falling down. There's a big, huge, like the roof has caved in, and one of the side walls has caved in. So anything that's in there is completely destroyed after, weather. But you can still see stuff in there.
Yeah, so I was hoping to have a report to see what transpired at the meeting. So what did he tell me?
Well, if we have a building falling down,
Yeah.
we need to take care of that.
Yeah, so maybe the building inspector with that.
I think we need to,
So,
But it's a
Bring in-
shed, you said.
well,
Yeah,
it's like,
but
it's some
this-
type of an attachment to the, it looks like it's been built to the side of the house, the back of the
Oh, it's
house,
attached
so.
to the back of the house. Up to Bob, just see what his
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
so
Yeah,
maybe
so
send
they
that to the
were-
building inspector?
I'd
Have him tell
asked Bob for an update for court on the 23rd. So, I don't know if he didn't get back to me on that.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure when they're going back to court
Mhm.
or what the next step is.
Mhm.
Is Bob in the office this week?
I think he is.
All right. Well, I can stop by if for some reason you want me to, but if you could just ask him, what's the deal when you see it side of a building falling in?
Mhm.
You know, don't we have any authority
Mhm.
to fix that, like by
Right.
knocking it down? And whatever's
Probably.
inside of it gets carted
Yeah.
away. Because it is a
I would
hazard.
imagine it would be a safety issue.
Oh, yes.
It's a public health issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't go near it. I mean,
All right. Well, it sounds like nobody's going near it now.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Inspection.
I think that's about it.
We have minutes to
Yep.
approve
Oh,
or
I have minutes
read
for you
and
to sign,
approve.
too.
Are there any changes? People okay with the minutes?
Can't-
26.
Did you look good?
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion since our reluctant colleague here is unable to do so.
I'll abstain.
All in favor? Aye.
All right, just,
All right.
we actually
Motion to end the
have,
meeting?
If
anything
you
else?
sign that document, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
we've got,
Is there a second? You
like
can't second it.
Okay. I'm
three
leaving.
there for you to sign and one for Tom.
Okay.
You can't even leave.
You
I
can't
don't
even
have to
leave.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
I could vote, I would say aye.
We are adjourned at 8.
Oh, yeah.